Hi, this is Julie Hart, and you're listening to Pipebomb Radio, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Howdy, howdy, everyone. This is Paul London, the Intrepid Traveler, and you are listening to Pipebomb Radio.
Hey, this is professional wrestler and certified DDP yoga instructor Stevie Richards telling you that you're listening to Pipebomb Radio.
This is the king of the mountain, Jeff Jarrett, the founder and CEO of Global Force Wrestling, and you're listening to Pipebomb Radio.
I'm waking up, in my bones, enough to make my system blow.
You're listening to Pipebomb Radio with your host, the founder, Felix Olmedo, and the Godfather, Nate Milton.
Welcome to the new age. Radioactive, radioactive.
Welcome, everybody, to Pipebomb Radio tonight. It is wrapping up to be a very, very interesting year. We're almost to the end of 2015, if you guys can believe it. I sure can't. It's been an incredible year, and it seems like it's just flown by. But tonight, we bring you the final review show for 2015, not to be confused with what we're going to be doing at the very last show of the year, which would be our top 15 of 15, if you will. And that way we can go back and look back at our top 15 shows of 2015, chosen, of course, by the Pipebomb Radio team. Each will give their top 5 favorite moments. We'll see how that goes. It might be just between myself and Nate. Maybe I'll get Elio to throw in a few votes. Austin, who was definitely part of the team, still is from time to time when he's not in Loopy Land. But the best top 15 of 2015 is always a fun way to kind of look back and see what an incredible year we've had. I know, 2013, just throwing our top countdown, we had guys like Bruno, Kevin, Ken Shamrock, Ahmed Johnson. Just an incredible array. And, 2015 hasn't been any different. We've had greats like Bret Hart, Jeff Jarrett. We've had the Boogie Woogie Man come back. We've had David Hero. We've had... I'm drawing a blank on this guy. We just had him on my birthday, too. I think his name was Tommy Fulton. Sorry if I'm horrible with names. But, we had him on, the Fantastics. Anyways, I'm babbling. Tonight we're going to go ahead and break down the TLC pay-per-view, talk about it. It's come so quickly, not to mention the final Raw of the year. Well, not the year, excuse me. Final Raw before before the pay-per-view. So, joining us through each of the review shows has been our good friends at Booking the Territory, or I should say good friend, Mike. Not sure where Nate is yet, but it's very rare that Mike beats Nate here. So how you doing, Mike?
Hey, Felix, I'm good. What about you?
I'm good. I'm just babbling, trying to kill time,
I know that feeling from time to time.
And it kind of worries me, too, because I think I'm getting sick, and I don't know if I want to be sick right now because I've been able to avoid it all year, and as we get towards the end, I feel like it's coming on me here, and I'm trying hard to make sure I don't get it, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. As far as tonight's show, like I said, we're just going to be doing the pay-per-view review show. It just seems like it's been something that's been thrown together rather quickly. For the most part, they have decent matches signed, which I think something could come of them. But we'll talk about that and, how the transition of Charlotte as well, because she's definitely changed maybe a little.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if her daddy's going to be around her more often. We'll see.
Most definitely.
But I had some scheduled guests calling in. I don't know if they'll be able to make it. Like I said, Nate, he is aware. Obviously, he knows when the show is. He'll call in as soon as he can. But asking ye shall receive. How did it? It's like Nate knows when I'm talking about him, because the moment I stop for a second and start to change the subject, bada bing, there he is. He knows what I'm talking about. How you doing, Nate? He's got that telepathic power. You there, Nate? Mike, can you hear anything?
I can't hear him if he's talking. I can hear you still.
Okay, you know what? That's what happened. We lost connection with him. All right, well, try this again. Nate, are you there?
What's going on, Felix?
You come in with your telepathic powers, and then I can't even hear you.
Hey, what's going on, boys?
What's up,
not
Nate?
much, man. We're just talking about a couple of weeks, as far as the shows go, because it just seems like it had to have been at least less than 2 weeks since we've had the last one for the Survivor Series, and here we are again. It just seems like it came so fast. It really did, because usually we don't do these until like the middle part of the month. But anywho, we're here, the last review show of the year. We still got a couple more weeks before the end of the year. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. Want to get you guys' thoughts on Monday Night Raw. People are complaining that it hasn't been great. The people are more concerned with ratings. And first off, the thing that stood out to me the most right away, it was getting both positive and negative reviews, was the 16-man opener, which threw everybody for a loop. What did you guys think of Raw overall and, of course, the opening segment?
Ooh, Raw. I thought the opening match was solid, but I think that it should have been the main event, because what ended up being the quote-unquote main event was pretty bad. That whole Roman Reigns Sheamus segment to close the show was not good at all, and the ratings bore that out. I think they got like a 1.1, which is not good at all for Monday Night Raw. And they were going up against the Cowboys Redskins, so they had to come out with a good show, and I think they came out with like two good segments, the opening match and the Miz TV segment, and other than that, the New Day segment. Other than that, everything else was just kind of It wasn't necessary.
Are you going to say New Day again with them damn unicorn things on their damn heads? Oh my God! And then they got Team Bad doing it with them now too.
I love that part. I love that part, because that was like, if you follow them on social media, they do stupid stuff like that all the time. And I was like, okay, now we finally get to see it on the show. Plus, I'm not opposed to Sasha Banks shaking that hashtag booty.
Right. All right. Mike, what was your thoughts on Raw overall and, of course, the opening segment?
They came out the gate swinging. That's for damn sure. I mean, with the way they it wasn't just the 16 people or 16 men. It was the way they presented it, because last week they ended it with that 5-on-6 deal that I really didn't like at the end. It just was. They may as well have made a battle royal out of it. But it was the way they brought out each team. So they came out swinging. I actually timed it. The first 45 minutes, although they took a bunch of commercial breaks, was all action. They literally went 45 minutes of pretty much, hey, we're gonna go at it. So I like that part of it. The second hour it sustained pretty well, but the third hour, man, it just went downhill. And I kind of, to go to what Nate said, I know Nate said they should have taken the opening, kind of made that the main. I can see why they didn't, because lately it seems like the formula for Raw is we gonna come out, swinging, grand slamming, because we know people aren't tuning in for 3 hours. I think that's the only thing I can think of as far as like what WWE is thinking in their minds these days, because while all that was good on hour 1, and even hour 2 wasn't bad, by the time they got to hour 3, man, it just was starting to go downhill. I can't remember which segment New Day was in. I think they were in hour 3, but my point is, by the time they got to the end, once again, too dang long. You know, I felt bad for Roman and Sheamus because it was like, I don't know what else they were supposed to do at that point with the amount of time that they had, because they were out there for a while at the end. It kind of seemed like a drag, and to me, when it drags like that, it takes away from what's going to happen Sunday.
Okay. And of course, we got the pay-per-view this Sunday. So let's jump right into it. I mean, obviously, with the issue, obviously, we'll go back to the beginning segment. The Wyatts jumped right back into this, and they jumped right into a story with the Dudley boys, and took them out. And of course, the Dudleys recruited some of their ECW guys. They brought in Tommy Dreamer, which was a nice fit. And then they bring in, just this past Monday, last night, they bring in Rhino, and that dude is freaking, he got big. Looked like a tank. But so now it's the ECW Originals against the Wyatt family in what appears to be an 8-man tag team elimination tables match. So I guess each person has to go through the table and be eliminated. Going into this, ultimately, I would have to go with the Wyatts to come out of this as the winners, because I think they would be the one to prosper the most from it. I don't see the ECW Originals benefiting from a win, and if they lose, I don't see it hurting their careers either. I think the ones who stand the most to gain would be the Wyatts, because of the fact that these guys are established. They're well known. They've already had great careers. Some of them are already past their prime. Nate, what do you think about this whole tables match?
I think it's a good rehab assignment, so to speak, for the Wyatts, because they need something after losing to the Brothers of Destruction at Survivor Series. They need something credible, and I think, you know, it's not a bad idea to have them beat the Dudleys and Dreamer and Rhino and look strong. I think that, you know, it'll be interesting to see where they go from this, though, because, man, I don't know. Like, I think the Wyatts should be in a place right now where they just running through people. And you saw the reaction that they got at the beginning of the show when the lights came up and the Wyatts were in there with the League of Nations. That was one of the few times that Charleston crowd got hyped for anything. And so I think people want to see the Wyatts be these ass kickers. And you know, we haven't really seen that for a sustained amount of time. So I'm hoping this is the beginning of, you know, the Wyatts just starting to wreck shop.
Okay. And Mike, do you think that the ECW Originals will come out of this on top? Do you think it would really benefit or hurt them in any way if they don't win?
Man, the running joke with the Wyatts is especially, I can't remember if we talked about it the last time we previewed a pay-per-view. It seems like every time there's a pay-per-view, they lose, right?
Right.
It just always seems like that. So, like, conventional wisdom tells me some kind of way, somehow, the ECW Originals, Bubba, Devon, you know, Dreamer, and Rhino win just based on that. But at the same time, I'm like, at some point, these guys have to get their comeuppance, right? So I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think the Wyatts come out strong in this one, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the ECW guys won it.
Okay. And, of course, that we did the C part of the initials. Let's jump into – we did the T. So I don't think they have a ladders match signed. Interesting. Well, let's jump into this tables match. I'm not tables, I'm getting all mixed up. Hello. The chairs match. I'm like all bouncing from one thing to another here. Let's go with the chairs match between it was a match that seemingly was going to happen eventually. I guess they seen it happen as a possible, there was no way to avoid it because of the association Del Rio had with Zeb Coulter, which apparently it's not going to happen. That Alberto is going to take on Jack Swagger in a chairs match for Del Rio's U.S. title. Will Zeb Coulter play a factor in this? Old Zeb, he very well could. many are predicting, and I just read this today, many are predicting that we could see an association and a return of Kurt Angle. Now, I don't expect it to be at the pay-per-view, but I do expect they're talking 2016. But in this match, do you guys expect Zeb Coulter to get involved in some form or fashion? And who do you see winning?
Alberto Del Rio should win because he's the guy you put all this stock in. He's the guy that came in off the bat and beat John Cena. He's the guy that you're paying all this money to. He's the guy that is in what you're saying is your top heel stable with the League of Nations. So Del Rio should win, and he should win convincingly. But because of what they did on Monday night with the whole Zeb stuff, I have a feeling that Swagger is going to win with some involvement from Zeb, which the whole thing is kind of screwy because we're feeling sympathy for Zeb because we love Zeb, and he's an older gentleman. But at the same time, Zeb and Jack Swagger should be the bad guys in this story. But now Del Rio's with the League of Nations, so he's the bad guy. It's like, do you really want to root for either one of these dudes? So I think that Jack Swagger's going to win, and this drags on, even though I think it should almost be a squash match, almost like the Cena match was.
Okay. What do you think, Nate? Not Nate. See, I'm so mixed up today. What is wrong? I need to get out of this. I am so out of it today. Okay. Mike, what do you see as an outcome for this match, which just seemingly just got thrown together and is now a chairs match?
Yeah, it got thrown together. I of course I don't see any way that Alberto Del Rio loses. He wins fair and square.
Well, there could also be involvement from his League of Nations guys too.
Yeah, and that's hard to predict too. Whenever you're talking about these pay-per-views, and you have, I always like to, whenever I predict it straight up, because I mean, they could get involved. However, I just don't see a reason for them to get involved. It's not like Swagger at this point is, quote unquote, a strong enough, at least in this storyline, a strong enough baby that he, Del Rio would need his help. I guess it would possibly, if they interfered and caused Swagger the match, it would kind of make him more of a baby. I don't know. This whole thing is so convoluted with, like Nate said, Del Rio really should have came in as the baby face, and it's all messed up. I was waiting last night for Del Rio to kick over Zeb's scooter to really, heel out, so to say, but that didn't happen. I've been calling for that for weeks, but I guess, Zeb's really, really hurt. That probably wouldn't work out too well. So Del Rio wins. This thing, like you said, is slap dab. Felix has just been kind of thrown together kind of last minute, even though they've presented it a couple of times in a few different ways over the last few weeks. I just don't see Swagger any way, shape, or form winning. Got Del Rio retaining. League of Nations may interfere. Who knows? I just don't see a future with these two in any type of program. Could be wrong, but I just don't see it.
Okay. And let's jump back to Monday Night Raw real quick, because that's going to bring into this inclusion this next match that I'm going to talk about. Miz TV decides to go ahead and bring in the champion, Divas champion, Charlotte, and her papa, the Nature Boy. And of all places you want to bring the Nate, bring him to the area where he worked his butt off for many, many years. That's Flair country. And it just seemed Miz he was there, and he was stirring the pot. He was stirring, and it just kept on stirring, and brought out Paige. And it just, the noticeable changes in Charlotte. She's started to act more like her father, in the sense that she's going to do whatever it takes to make it to the top, even if it means backstabbing her friends. Stepping on them, stepping over them to get over to the top. And Miz made that clear. You're like your dad. You wouldn't be where you are if it wasn't for your dad, like Paige said. Paige goes in, slaps Nate in the face, And, I expected Flair to actually say something back to him, but he didn't. He just told Charlotte to get her. And typical Nate would have said something more vulgar, I'm sure. But that leads us to this match that's coming up this Sunday. Charlotte defends her title against Paige. Who do you boo in this match? Who's the bad guy? Bad girl, excuse me. Because they're both trying to get over as being, well, I don't know. They're both trying to get over as being bad, but they're so good at it. Who's better? I don't know who to vote for here. But if I had to go with who's coming out of this as a champion, my money's on Charlotte for now. They're going to try to drag this out for a little while, I think. But Mike, what you think, man?
This is one of my biggest frustrations with WWE right now, the way they flip-flop people. If you remember, they did it with the Bellas, it seemed, over and over again.
Oh,
like they were, yeah. And, like, I'm getting that. I actually like the fact that Charlotte will be a heel. I think that role on the main roster actually fits her quite well, just her look and her presence. I think if you put her in that role, I would buy into it in a second. The problem is they flip Paige so many times at this point. You're sitting there like, okay, who's rooting for? Who am I going? What? It's just confusing, and that's the part I don't like. I think Charlotte retains. I would actually lean into it, let her, be a heel, and maybe, because to me, Paige is a really good baby. She's really, really solid. She can do both, but I think her as a baby is really good, and I like them to go along with that. The problem is they've flip-flopped her so many times at this point, going back to, when they did the show in England a few months back, that now it's like, what is she? Who do we have a vested interest in seeing? It's too confusing at this point. So I'm going to go with Charlotte. I just wish they wouldn't keep doing this flip-flop, wishy-washy stuff like they did with the Bellas for months. That's my assessment of it. What do you think?
Yeah, what do you think, Nate?
I think, you asked us who we're going to boo in this match, Felix, and I think I'm going to boo whoever is writing these women's characters.
Good point, Nate. Nate, that's a good point.
I'm going to be like that dude in Half-Baked. Boo this man! But Mike's right. It doesn't make any sense the way that they've been telling us this story, because I think, you've got an issue where both Charlotte and Paige can play either the babyface or the heel, and they can do a damn good job at it, but there's been no consistency in this story. And so when I look at this match, it's way too early for Charlotte to drop the belt. So I think they're going to keep this thing going, but it's like, how do you get the fans invested in cheering for either one of these women? Because if you cheer for Charlotte, you're cheering for somebody that's obviously showing some heel tendencies, obviously cheating to win matches and things of that nature. But if you root for Paige, you're rooting for the girl that talked about the other girl's dead brother. So it's like neither one of these women are likable. And so I think that Charlotte's going to win, but they got to figure something out, because the whole problem with the division is it's just one big shade of gray, like Vince Russo used to write. Team bad. They're bad, but people cheer for Sasha. Brie Bella, I guess she's a babyface now. Does that make Alicia Fox a babyface as well? Then you got Charlotte and Paige. Like, the only true babyface in the division is Becky Lynch. So they got to figure this whole thing out, because it's night and day between the NXT women and the main roster divas. It's just, from a storyline perspective, it's hard to get behind one of these women.
Well, what if we threw in the monkey wrench into this? You just said it there too, Nate. Becky Lynch has kind of been caught in the middle, in the crosshairs between the two of them. What if she got involved in some form or fashion to help either one? Now, I would say most likely she would probably help inside with Paige and try to cost Charlotte the match, leading to a future match between the three of them. And maybe looking at that at the Rumble, maybe. But, what if she plays a factor in this? She could very well play a factor, because she's been kind of thrown in there as some of the stepping stone, if you will. And, but as far as the match itself, it's just you can't see Charlotte losing either.
But you know what, Felix? When you say that, the only problem with that is it wouldn't surprise me if she interfered and helped Charlotte or she interfered and helped Paige. They've crossed the line so many times. It wouldn't surprise me if she came out and helped either one of them. Like, the sad part about that is if she did do that and came out and caused one or the other, the fans they're going to be like us and going to go, okay, and then we're going to be like what Nate said. Now we're booing the writers because they've flip-flopped it so many times. Like, okay, so last week, Becky Lynch, Ric Flair calls her the match. But let's not forget that, Becky Lynch and Paige have had problems, too, of recent. There's no clear-cut way. You can't even surprise the fans because they've done so much flip-flopping. There's no surprising because she's been on both sides of the fence at this point. It's too confusing to even throw a surprise out there because nothing is going to surprise you because they've already flip-flopped them so many times.
Yeah. Well, I get the feeling that they're trying to make Paige be very similar to what AJ Lee was, in a sense. The rebel type character, the one that dropped the Page bombs, if you will. I don't know. Next thing you know, we'll see her in cutoff shorts and skip it. Well, she's already in cutoff shorts. We'll see her skipping around to weird music, and it don't fit her. But I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to almost make Paige in a mirror image of what AJ Lee was, because I don't see AJ coming back anytime soon. Not saying that she would ever come back, but who knows? That's my take on Paige. They're trying to make her something very similar, or at least close to what AJ was. But that's another story. And looking over the tag team title, it looks like I stand corrected. That's actually a ladder match. It's a tag team triple threat tag team ladder match for the tag team championship. This is another one that's kind of it's just a mess. We got the champions, the New Day, taking on the Usos, taking on the Lucha Dragons. Boy, I'm already exhausted just talking about that. Where do you go with this? Because there's no time to build. I honestly expected this to be New Day against Usos with the future title match against maybe the Lucha Dragons, because I know they've been pushing the Usos since one of them, I think it was Jimmy that came back, or Jay that came back after an injury. But you go into this, and they've been working solid, pretty decent matches together in this. And I guess now that the New Day is a part of the League of Nations, or at least they're whipping boys, if you will. Bad choice of words. They're people. I guess. What the hell do you call these guys? I'm finding words to think of. Yes, I can't think of what to say for these guys.
Oh man, Felix! I didn't know you were from. I didn't know you were from Bad Street, USA, Felix.
No comment. Well, I don't understand this whole logic with this match. It just kind of baffles me. But yeah, we got a ladder match, triple threat. Who's going to win it? Who cares? I mean, really. I mean, it seems stupid to say that the New Day is going to walk out of there without the titles. Obviously, they've been the odds-on favorite to win it because they're so ridiculously over. And I guess Vince gets a kick out of watching Big E shaking his booty. And then you get Barrett shaking his booty as if we needed that. I mean, I think it's all so over-dramatically, over-hyped. I think it's all Vince. I just don't see them losing. They've got so much momentum right now. How could they lose?
No, I don't see them losing either. I do think this will probably be the match of the night from an in-ring standpoint, but why do we need the ladder stipulation? And it goes back to something that, you mentioned, Felix, like, this thing is happening way too soon because none of these feuds have really had the proper time to build and get so heated that we need a ladder match or we need a tables match or we need a chairs match. We're just doing it because we have to for the sake of this pay-per-view. And I think like this concept of the pay-per-view, I never liked the concept because, you'll get one or two really great matches, but for the most part, you've got a lot of hardcore matches that don't need to be hardcore matches. And so I think that this will be a great match. I have a feeling that all three teams, especially the Lucha Dragons, are going to go out there and try to put on a show and steal the show and take us back to, the Edge, Christian, Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys days. But at the end of the day, the New Day will still have the title.
And that damn trombone. All right, Mike, what you think, man? What do you think of this match?
Nate said it all. The idea and concept behind this pay-per-view, TLC, I just remember a day and time in the territories, even after the territories, where you only did these types of matches, with the ladders and the chairs and all that. You only did that, to blow off a long feud. It was the final say-so, and whether it was a team or two guys. And so that's one problem with this match. The second one is they didn't do anything to build to this point. So, am I supposed to believe the Usos or the Lucha Dragons can win? Of course, at any point in time they could, and they could throw the belts on them, but I just don't see it. And then to Nate's point and your point, Felix, these guys are, they're hotter than six suns, as Dusty Rhodes used to say. I mean, these guys are hotter than six suns, baby. I mean, why would we take that off of them? Now, I will say this: WWE is giving them a little bit too much airtime. It's like they've reached a saturation point with them, but still, at the same time, there's no way I can't see them losing. Not this quick. How long ago did the Usos come back? It doesn't even feel like it's been 3 weeks. So, they could have built this a little better, I guess, and the story that they're telling with it isn't a good one, and New Day is going to win, retain. I just don't know what all the ladder match and all that, how they're going to, what they're going to do to present it well, where it's a good story and a good match. I mean, let's think about this whole ladder match thing. Do we really need to go back to the whole Edge and Christian and the Dudleys and what they did? It's hard to live up to things like that in WWE. I don't know where this thing goes besides New Day, and we're going, okay, yeah, we knew that was going to happen.
Okay. That being said, it's not many matches signed, so I'm expecting either long-winded matches that really go nowhere, lead to more complications the next night. Hell, I'm even looking forward to the Slammies more than this pay-per-view. I don't really like the Slammies. I'm not a Slammies fan. Truth be told, I'm probably looking forward to maybe the Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose match, and that's about it. I'm not thrilled about the main event. I don't care about the main event. It just doesn't catch my eye. Two people that I know they're pushing Sheamus as a really big heel leader right now, but he doesn't do it for me. He doesn't. I don't feel his. Well, I can't say that. I don't feel his passion. It just his delivery and the way he talks. It just doesn't get me invested in him. I don't feel it. He's not a typical type champion. He's just something that is not exciting to watch. Then we got Roman Reigns, who we've been saying for months needs a mouthpiece to get him over because, well, let's just be honest, we'd all rather watch paint dry than hear him talk. Tater tot? Really? Come on, man. Two people who it's just nothing. There's nothing there. And for that, I don't know if you guys heard this, there was actually people saying that at the end segment of Raw, people were leaving the arena. They didn't give a damn about it.
That.
Nobody's invested in that.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares. It just seems pointless, and this match and this pay-per-view is just going to be pointless as well. But going back to the pay-per-view itself, like I said, I'd rather watch Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose because I have a feeling they're probably going to have the best match of the night. And you know what? If I'm wrong, it won't be the first time. But that's the match of the night. I'm calling it. Do we see a new champion? Not likely. I don't think WWE trusts Dean all that much right now to consider him having a title. I can see it happening in 2016, but not right now. I think they should invest more into Kevin Owens anyway. But that's another story. Do you guys think that we have a new IC champ closing out 2015? Mike, let's start with you.
I don't think so. I think Kevin Owens retains it. I expect a really good match between those two. I mean, I do. I think, actually, that might be the match of the night, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Kevin Owens
Nate?
wins, but I think that might be the match of the night. What do you think, Nate?
I think it's either going to be that or the tag match. Other than that, like the rest of the matches, I think we're just going to see a lot of brawling, a lot of clubbering, as Dustin Rhodes would say.
If you will.
But here's the thing, and Mike brings up a great point in that most of these championship matches that we've talked about, we've said the champion's going to retain, the champion's going to retain, the champion's going to retain, because on a 2-week build, what is the motivation or what is the incentive, for me to be like, oh yeah, this is going to be the moment when Dean Ambrose has a great victory over Kevin Owens, or Jack Swagger has a great victory over Alberto Del Rio. And I think that's a problem when you've got a show where going in, people can pretty much predict what's going to happen. And sometimes predictability is good, but not when you've got, 6 matches on this show. And you can probably, any wrestling fan that's been watching for a little while can probably predict at least 4 or 5 of the matches correctly.
Okay. And, of course, let's go into the Snore Fest. That is the title match. It's a snore fest. I mean, it's so ridiculous. I don't even know where to begin in telling you, as I was already saying, is anybody really excited to watch this? I mean, it's unfair to say that about these guys, but in reality, there's just nothing there. It's just like there's not much more I can say. Nate, I want to get your thoughts on the WWE title match. It's a TLC match. The jar of mayonnaise against the guy who can't talk to save his life.
Well,
what are your thoughts, man?
This is a classic matchup, Felix, because we've got we've got Roman Reigns versus Tater Tots, and anybody that knows me knows I love me some Tater Tots. But after Raw on Monday night, I might not be able to eat Tater Tots again for at least 6-7 months. They have ruined Tater Tots for me, brothers. So, man, I again, this was, and maybe Mike can think of one worse, but this has got to be one of the worst go-home segments for a championship match on a pay-per-view that I can remember. Like, the crowd wasn't into it. It didn't, like, you had a dude go through it off of the announce table through another table, and the audience was just like, okay, cool. Like, there was no buzz in the arena, and there's no buzz going into this match. And so I think that, we're going to get a flat match in front of a crowd that is going to let you know about it. Boston, they are not going to bite their tongue when it comes to letting Roman Reigns and Sheamus know that this is not what we want to watch. But that being said, I think Roman
boring.
is going to...
Right, we'll get those boring chants.
There'll be a JBL chant or a Cole chant or, God forbid, a Byron Saxton chant. But I think that Roman Reigns is going to have Sheamus on the ropes, and then League of Nations comes in, costs Roman Reigns the match, and this thing gets dragged out to another pay-per-view.
Yeah, I can see this going into the Rumble. People are begging for Brock Lesnar to come back already. Hell, I'm not a fan, and I don't want him back already. What do you do from this? I mean, do you retire? And you know what? I can't say I can't say nothing because usually towards the end of the year, they're fumbling to find ideas and stories to go with, and more so now I think this year than ever because their roster is so thinned down right now, and they don't want to give anybody any opportunities. I mean, they're looking at poor Zack Ryder. That dude has been hanging on by a thread for years, and now they're putting him with Mojo Rawley. One guy who, all right, he's talented, but he's incredibly annoying. We don't stay hyped for some. We stay hyped for some crap.
I don't get hyped. I stay hyped.
Yeah, I just want like, okay, I want to change the channel. That's how hyped I got. Maybe I'm bitching too much, guys. Maybe I'm bitching too much. I just, nothing's been really that exciting lately, and I can't say I'm going to stop watching like everybody else is bellyaching. Oh my God, this is the worst. WWE is going to hell in the handbasket. I'll still watch. I'm not going anywhere. I'm ready for the new year, new opportunities, new stories. Some of the superstars that should be coming back. Could we see a Kurt Angle return? It's worth mentioning that it would definitely help. I still predicted, and I still called it, I think, a couple weeks ago, Hogan's coming back. I don't see him coming, not being able to be part of WrestleMania 32. But usually from WrestleMania season, things start getting a little bit better. I feel bad for the fact that they don't have Randy Orton anymore because he's going to be out, it sounds like, indefinitely. And after the years of wear and tear and abuse on his body, and he's finally going to have surgeries done and to give him more time to spend with his family, he don't need the money. But his talent is so he's one of the more talented people on their roster that he's not been used all that much. And like I said, the roster is so thin right now. It's hard to get excited about what's left in 2015. I just hope that we can see more in 2016. What do you guys think as far as what's left? What do you guys think? Do you guys see anything big happening for 2015, or maybe some big returns coming for 2016?
No, Nate,
go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, man. Well, you were telling me when we talked, I don't even remember what podcast we were recording at the time. We were talking at one point about how since WrestleMania and then after the summer of this year, or as we got into the summer of this year, it was like basically WWE was just kind of like just buying time until things start heating up as we get closer to WrestleMania. Man, I gotta say, when you told me that, I really looked at it, and that's really what it looked like they did. Now, they were also faced with, as we close out the year with, they got a couple of problems. I mean, you got tons of hours of programming you need to fill with 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 1 hour of NXT, and then you got, on top of that, you got a light roster because you got all these injuries that have taken place. So I would hope going into the new year, because I mean, some of these people aren't coming back. I mean, Rollins is not coming back. He blew his knee out. Orton's not coming back. I would hope they would elevate, some of the people that they have, like Kevin Owens is the one that comes to mind. Not that he's not elevated now as Intercontinental Champion, but I see somebody like him playing a major role next year, and I mean even major. That's what I would look for. Him taking a spot, and then after that, it's who on the roster. Because let's face it, it's not these guys. It's not that they're not talented. These are talented individuals on the main roster. It's how they're written, how they're booked. So, like, I hear a lot of times the criticism, but it's not the guys. They have the people to do it, even though they've got a lot of injuries. It's just a matter of, that's what I want to see going into next year, in 2016, how they present these guys that they do have that are talented, that they can hold their weight. I mean, Roman Reigns is not terrible. It's just the way that they use him and the way that they get him these scripted promos that sound like they're cookie cutters. That's what I'm looking forward to next year as we go into 2016. I want to see them use these guys that they have, and girls as well, ladies as well, appropriately.
Speaking of cookie cutters, Nate, brace yourself for this. I received a text message from guess who? And here's what he said. Now, this is typical Austin fashion, guys. And this is what I said, guess who? He says, sorry I can't make the show tonight, guys. Me and the beautiful Martha Stewart are making some cool crafts and cookies for the upcoming Christmas festivities at Kim and Kanye's Bash. Had a great time in Campo Grande, Brazil this past week, wherever the hell that is, with my good friend Tyler Breeze. Diamond studding our custom-made selfie sticks. Oh, have mercy. The same selfie stick that me and my Irish-born brother and WWE World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus will be using to take victory photographs after he dominates Roman Reindeer. Really? Oh, excuse me. The spell check machine is acting up. This Sunday at TLC. It's no surprise, but when you have connections, you've got them everywhere. Typical Austin fashion. Roman Reindeer, that's actually pretty funny. I'll give him that.
Oh, good old Austin.
He made sure his presence was felt.
Yes. Oh, man. It's funny because Austin, to me, Austin is more entertaining than a lot of the stuff we see on Raw every week, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like Mike said when we were talking, like their idea of, hey, let's be bad for a little while and rev everything up once we get to the new year and get to the Rumble and head towards Mania. It's silly. Why would you intentionally put out a product that you know is not your best? And, granted they've had some injuries that they couldn't control, but there's a lot of stuff they could control. How we present people like Roman Reigns, how we present the Divas, how we elevate people like Cesaro or Kevin Owens or Dean Ambrose. How can we book the New Day? Because I agree. I think the New Day is starting to become overexposed because Vince or whoever is like, well, we've got all this time to fill. People like the New Day. Instead of putting them out there for 20 minutes a week, let's put them out there for 40. And that's not doing the best service to, Kofi and Big E and Xavier. But yeah, I think that it's gonna be bad before it gets better. And we've still got a few more weeks before we see John Cena back, and I never thought I'd be looking forward to John Cena coming back, but I think Cena's presence on Raw would make it a much better show because these writers have no idea how to craft a compelling show without John Cena, apparently. And it's sad because you can't count on this dude forever. He's getting up there in age.
That's
He's gotta
exactly
take
what
time
I'm about to say, too.
It's like, you've got to start developing your new stars. And if they don't, we're going to be in the same position we were 10 years ago when they're like, oh crap, what the hell do we have to take over the next spot from guys like Rock and Austin? Let's take a shot on Cena, and that happened to work. Let's take a shot on Brock Lesnar, that happened to work. And so, they got to get these dudes opportunities, or else we're going to be stuck with stupid things like your man Adam Rose and the Rose Bush. Like, come on, man. I don't need you to take 10 minutes out of my TV time for this fake TMZ, man.
Hey, man. Hey, Nate, you know what's crazy about him? Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm done. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, Nate, you know what's crazy about that? So when I had Michael Tarver on my show, he was talking about Adam Rose, and I can't remember his exact comment, but he's like, my God, the way they use him is so not useful to how talented he is. Like, and he went on and on about, like, he's like, the guy is really, really talented, but they don't use him appropriately. So that's why I say they've got talented people there. It's just a matter of using them right and giving them good stories to tell where people are invested in the character and the outcome of the story. Because Adam Rose is not terrible. It's just a way of using him. And like you said, we got this, what is it? I don't know. Is it some kind of E-News, thing he's doing? I don't know what he's doing.
I thought it was TMZ actually, so that nailed it on the head there.
Yeah.
You know, I get that they're making movies, as Vince said in that documentary, Beyond the Mat. I get they're trying to be an entertainment show. When you don't have competition, you want to compete with everything else, and you're not succeeding. You're not building for the future. Now, they want to throw out there that they're using guys like Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, The New Day, which, you know, it's fine, but who's going to rise to the top? Who's going to be the cream of the crop, if you pardon the expression? You know, who's going to be the best of the best? I don't see anybody doing that yet. You know, they can't keep going with the nostalgia factor and expect that to be sufficient. Yeah, you can do that for WrestleMania, of course. Bring out all the stops and bust out all the old dogs, and you know, get them in there. That's the point. WrestleMania is a time to look back and remember, but not on every Raw show. I mean, okay, I get why they did it with Nate, but I mean, man is 65 plus years old. How many more woos has this old man got? Nothing against him, Nate, but I mean, I'm sure he could still out wrestle some of the guys on the roster, which is sad, but it's probably true. But building a star, I don't know anybody could stand out. What I would like to see happen, I would like to see it. Not saying it's going to happen. I don't know if they can put it on these guys' shoulders, though, because they don't have enough faith in them to let them run with it. Guys like, because they're a little older, but doesn't necessarily mean they couldn't handle the pressure. With guys like a Samoa Joe, a James Storm, you know, if Austin Aries makes the jump, if AJ Styles can get out of his injury and make it over there, because he expressed interest. You know, then again, that's going back to what I was saying, using the older guys when they leave the younger guys out of it. I don't know if they have faith enough in these young guys to take the WWE to the next level. You know, I digress. Maybe I'm just kind of complaining.
I think one of the issues, though, Felix, is, and I've seen reports, and I don't know how valid these reports are, but, you know, from some of the sites like Observer and Torch and whatnot, that, you know, there's kind of an internal struggle between kind of the old guard and the new guard, where, you know, you've got people lining up behind Vince and people lining up behind Triple H. And it seems to me that there's so many guys on NXT right now that could come up and help the main roster. You know, you talk about guys like Joe, guys like James Storm, guys like damn, I just blanked on him. But your man Prince Devitt, what do they call him down there?
Finn Balor.
Finn Balor, yeah. Yeah, I just blanked on Finn. But there's a lot of dudes down there that could certainly help this roster. The problem is, once they get to the main roster, they're not dealing with that NXT bubble. They're not dealing with those writers. They're not dealing with those producers. They're not dealing with Triple H as much as they would on NXT. And so when they come up there, you get guys that have all the talent in the world, but get stuck with stuff like Adam Rose, get stuck with stuff like your man Tyler Breeze, like this thing with Dolph Ziggler. I don't think that's going anywhere. They're like Rusev and the Shield and the Wyatt family. Other than those guys, a lot of your NXT call-ups have failed when they've gotten up to the main roster, and I don't think it's mainly on the NXT performers. I think a lot of that has to do with the way that the main roster up on WWE is produced.
Yes.
Yeah, Nate hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's why I keep saying it's not that there's not talent there. It's just who's writing the stories. I hate to say it, but dang, because it's like we're beating a drum, you know, beating a dead horse. But it's true. You know, it's just like, and it's frustrating because you see the talent that is there that could do it, and it's unfortunate that the jump can't be made with this new, fresh talent, because they do have talented guys who are capable. It's just a matter of I guess the creative folks don't trust them, and Vince McMahon doesn't trust them to do, or to grab this brass ring or whatever. But they just need to be given an opportunity, like Cena was. I mean, that's what it boils down to. You need an opportunity. I mean, you can say all you want about being talented, but somebody's got to give you the opportunity before you can show that you can do it.
Yeah. I will say we do have a caller who's been on hold here. I think that I know who it is, but we'll bring him on anyway. It's not Austin. It is Mr. Two Ends Canella. Elio, how you doing, man?
Yeah, man. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Elio?
How's it going, Nate? Hey,
All
Mike.
right, brother.
Hey, Elio, what's up, man?
Not too much. Just listening in, trying to make sense of this thing we call WWE. I don't know what they've been doing lately.
Well, I mean, is there any match that you're looking forward to at the pay-per-view? Because I know that, if for those who don't know, Elio is a longtime writer of WrestlingNewsSource.com. He does the pay-per-view shows. He does a play-by-play online with them. I think he still does them. But what's your take on TLC? Is there a match you're looking forward to the most?
Actually, the Sheamus and Roman Reigns one. I'm kind of looking forward to that one.
Really? There you go. We got one fan. One fan.
But, no, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen there. All I know is that we need that belt off of Sheamus.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of this new Sheamus. And
you don't like Sheamus? You don't think he's cool? He looks cool as a champion, looking like a damn pirate.
No, it's like he looks. If you put his face over the rooster on the cornflakes box, you have your new mascot.
Wow. Okay.
I think I tweeted that picture too.
I think you mentioned that. Yes, that would be a pretty interesting picture to make and send it to Austin and see what he has to say about it.
Actually,
Cock-a-doodle-doo, fucker, right?
Actually, the Paige and Charlotte match. Do you see a double turn?
Oh, now you're making my head hurt. You got a double turn. It's like time travel, and oh man, that I could see it, especially with Rick being there. But at the end of the day, still Paige. Like, I know that the fans want to cheer her, but the way that she's been presented as a character, like 2 weeks ago, it's the girl that was talking about the other girl's dead brother. Like I said, like, she's not a likable character right now. They've got to do something to show that she's likable, and maybe that comes with Ric Flair getting involved or Becky getting involved. But man, if they did that, I don't know what I'd make of the Divas division.
And actually, you guys were saying just like a few minutes ago, what are they doing with Adam Rose?
Oh,
in the total
Mr. TMZ himself.
I don't know that they just like totally ruined his character.
I think somebody in creative is like, I'm gonna throw this up against a wall and see if it sticks. But I really do.
To see if it stinks or see if it sticks. I'm kidding.
To see if it sticks.
Well,
good point,
the funny thing is that you should mention that, though, is many people are still complaining about the Cody Rhodes Stardust thing. People are ready for him to change. Now, to honor his father's wish, obviously he's gonna see this through to the end until he's no use for it. But I don't know. Do you think we might get a little bit of more Cody in 2016 and less Stardust?
Actually, what are they doing with that whole thing with the vignettes with Titus O'Neil? What are they doing with that whole thing?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, they I think it was JBL. Like, JBL made the comment on Raw last night that Titus is trying to bring Cody back, and it's like we've never seen that in any of these silly backstage skits. Like so maybe that's where they're going with it, but I don't know. Like I think like eventually we're gonna get Cody back because I think that's what the fans want, and I think after the Stardust thing's kind of run its course, it'll be cool to have Cody Rhodes come back. But for now, I'm actually kind of liking him with the Ascension. I think he makes the Ascension a whole lot more tolerable.
Okay, that's actually a good point. What's the word that they're using? What is the name of that group between with Cody and this tag team? Something Wasteland.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, what were they called? Oh goodness.
Let's see. I'm having to go to Wikipedia because I can't think of it either.
Right.
The Cosmic Wasteland.
Cosmic Wasteland. Almost said Toxic Wasteland.
I would have said that too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's really the only thing that's making that team relevant, and that's another reason why I think they'll hold on to the Stardust character, because he's kind of morphed that into something of his own, distancing himself from what Goldust was. Goldust was in a class all by himself with what he was doing. He was so far ahead of his time in the 90s, coming in and with the homophobic gestures, and Stardust is nothing like that. Stardust is like totally different, but different on a different wavelength, and different because Goldie don't do those kind of things no more. But then again, I don't think Stardust would ever try to do those things. I guess he had to kind of stray away and not be as much like his big brother was.
Yeah, he made it his own thing, Felix. Like, I'm actually one who doesn't mind what he's doing with the whole Stardust thing, because I really believe he did make Stardust, although when I first saw it, I was like, oh, he's kind of like Goldust, except he's Stardust. But, man, it's completely, to me, it's different. He's done his own thing with it. I credit him for that. It's not, he didn't just, say, oh, I'm going to use the same mold my brother did and go with the same thing. It's different to me. It's not the same, and I like that.
Yeah. Well, Elio, are you going to hang in there with us for a little bit, or are you going to, because we're going to go ahead and start to wrap it up a little bit and start to talk about everybody's show? What's that?
I'm just going to listen into the rest of the show.
All right. We appreciate you calling in, man.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right, Elio.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and mention, as far as what we have on the Pipebomb Radio Network, we've got Not Your Mama's Radio Show with their season finale. And after last week's show, we had David Hero and Bill Apter on their show. Bill Apter was freaking awesome. He was really, really an incredible guy to listen to. And with it being the season finale of the show, they had to figure out, they had to go either go out big or not show up. Well, because they hadn't shown up much lately this last several months because of health issues, they're going to go out strong. This Thursday night on their season finale, they will have WWE Hall of Famers Booker T, Don Morocco, and a very good possibility they'll have Impact Wrestling's Robbie E. calling in.
Okay.
So they got the Magnificent One, they got the 5-time champion, or 6-time champion, excuse me, and WWE Hall of Famer. Can you dig that, suckers? Anyway. And, of course, Dr. David Reese, he had an interesting show on Friday. He discussed honesty in relationships. Not sure what he's got on the agenda this week, but he definitely takes you in a different place that you don't hear too many of these discussions on this show or Thursday night show very much. So, Conversations with Dr. Dave, he will also have his season finale this Friday night. And it's all here on the Pipebomb Radio Network. Mike, what you got on there with Booking the Territory? I think you guys just had a show tonight, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it should be up now. Last week, just because it's still up, obviously, and it was a really good one. I had on Donovan Dijak from Ring of Honor. You can find the episode on Facebook.com/Booking the Territory. If you go to iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, just search Booking the Territory, it'll come up. Donovan, it was real good. I had a good time talking to him. He shared some good information about just what he's got going on related to wrestling and non-wrestling related stuff. And this week is I didn't intend on this happening, but when I got him on the phone, he just kept talking. And so
love those guys.
I think I told those guys. I think I told you the irony was when he started off, he's like, I don't have nothing to say. But the one-man gang actually graced me with his presence, and he did a 3-parter with me. So that's the first part just went up tonight at 10 o'clock, and you can find it again on Booking Territory Facebook.com/Booking the Territory. And if you go to Podbean, like I said, iTunes or Stitcher, just search Booking the Territory, you'll find it. I can tell you this much. On part 1, he talks about a few stories with ECW and some different stories about the territories when he worked in Mid-South and World Class with the Von Erichs. Just fascinating stuff. You know how it is. Both of you have been on those discussions with some of these legends, and they get to talking, and we just get to listening. And it was actually him and Rod Price from Global and ECW as well. One of the conditions One Man Gang gave me was, I'll do it, but I want Rod Price on. I said, no problem. I mean, Rod and I are good friends anyway. So, yeah, okay. we had a good time. So, real good show. Hopefully you'll check it out. And like I said, it's a 3-parter. Follow us on Twitter at BTT_podcast. And like I said, Facebook.com/Booking the Territory. I appreciate it. And Felix, I always tell you this, man, because you don't have to do it, but you invite me all the time. I really appreciate it. Love coming on your show and hanging out with you and Nate.
Well, we got to keep it interesting. We got to keep it, because I get to the point where people either they really enjoy hearing us talk or they get sick of us at one point or another. And what I find interesting is when I think people are not really enjoying themselves is when they're enjoying themselves the most. So I'd like to try to keep it mixed up a little bit because you know what, Nate and I, we know each other's opinions, and sometimes we are going to agree to disagree, and sometimes we're just going to agree, and sometimes we're just going to hate it and just be done with it. And it's good to bring in a third person in to kind of weed out and give us a different outlook on maybe something that maybe we didn't see or something that we didn't, catch right off the bat or an option that we're not thinking about. So, definitely, we got to keep it fresh, keep it interesting, and so far I think we've done that. So we thank you for taking time to hang with us tonight. So with that said, Nate, the Kings of Sports, I know they've been talking their show, I think last week you guys were talking about Kobe's retirement and a few other things. And so with that and keeping it 100 with Brian Mann, I know we're going to get Brian on the show eventually. We're going to get him on. That's my goal for 2016.
Oh, yeah. We will have Brian on eventually. But this week on the Kings of Sport, we got a lot of football to talk about. The NFL, of course, but also college football. The playoffs are the pairings for the playoffs have been announced, and we're going to chop that up. And we may be talking to one Mike Mills if we can meet his demands and meet his price. It's the holiday season, so the Kings of Sport budget is a little tight, but we're going to see if we can get Brother Mike on and talk some football with him and have some fun there. We'll also be talking probably some basketball because Golden State Warriors are ridiculous, and we'll get into that a little bit. And we'll have some fun with that. That's the Kings of Sport myself and Marcus Vanderberg from Yahoo Sports. Check that out on iTunes and Stitcher and Facebook.com/The Kings of Sport. And don't forget, keep it 100, like Felix mentioned. Me and Brian, man, the episode about world champions just came out last Friday, and we've got another episode coming out, not this Friday, but the Friday after. And I don't know what the topic is going to be yet, but we're going to have some fun. That's through the Fight Network up in Canada, so you can check that out. And, I'm here with Felix every week talking on Pipe Bomb. And as you've heard from our voices and just our enthusiasm this week about Raw and TLC, sometimes we need a little to mix up the voices a little bit to keep our enthusiasm up, because the WWE has beaten us down with this terrible, terrible booking, and we have to slowly roll away like Zeb Coulter in his scooter.
Right.
like the look Zeb gave Del Rio when he rolled out in the back of Raw. That's how I looked when I turned off the TV on Monday night. It's like, really? That's what y'all doing?
That's it. I almost want to see the rematch with Kong and Jesse Goddard. That was more of an interesting match to me than most of what I've seen on Raw, and I know that Impact, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have coming in the future. I don't want them to go away. I want them to stick around and flourish. I'd love for Global Force Wrestling to come on television and make an impact as well. If anybody can do it, Jeff can do it. He's got the mind for it. He's got the money. He's got the talent. He can do it. And you know what? I'm pretty sure his dad would help him as much as he could. He's got an incredible mind for it. So, I'm happy with the way things went. I will update you guys on the one thing. I'm not sure if you guys follow him or not. David Hero had his match with Abyss this past weekend. He didn't win. In fact, it was the ultimate double cross. His tag team partner, Damian Nelson, turned on him and sided with Abyss. And the referee, Armando Estrada, I can't do that R's very well, but I do try my best, didn't want to count, so the referee was in the pocket, and then Damian ends up turning on David. So, with all that, David ends up having to leave Pro Wrestling Report. He can no longer do the Blizzard Brawls anymore. In fact, Abyss almost took out David's son, Cal. So it was an interesting show. They had over 2,000 people there at the Waukesha place, something or other, in Wisconsin, where my good friend China was there, took a lot of great pictures with her friends, and had a great time. She is somebody that I am going to have on the show. If I can't get her to close out 2015, she's going to be on 2016. You better count on that, folks. It's going to happen. And when it does, I don't think anybody will be ready for what she's got to say. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Felix, I got to give it to you, man. You get good guests, man. You get some great guests. I've told Nate that one day we were talking to, man, Felix gets some guests, man. I gotta just give him props on that. I look forward to
taking a lot of long, hard days working and pushing and plugging and begging and pleading.
I hear you.
But, I think it just started off with just how the ball started with guys like Bruno. Bruno was our biggest guest to date at the time. We never thought we'd get him. And then, it just continued to start rolling. It was like a snowflake going down an avalanche, and it grew, and the ball started growing bigger and bigger. You get Ken Shamrock, you get Ahmed Johnson, you get the Boogie Woogie Man, you get Lonnie Poffo, you get so many people that you're just amazed. Bret Hart. I think Nate was blown away with that one. And next thing you know, I'll tell him we got Sting, and I think he'll just totally pass out from shock. Because he'll be like, oh, my God, the Stinger? I'm so there, dude. I'm so there. But, I just want to make it better. I like I told Oscar on Thursday, my ultimate goal is to have this in a studio, not necessarily broadcasting from my home. So that way I can go in, and on occasion when you guys are out in California, you guys can stop by and we can do a show in the studio. And the same thing with Oscar and with Dr. Dave. And he can bring in their guests with them, and they can interview them there in the studio. And they won't necessarily need me to talk. I'll just be running the controls from the background. We'll see what happens. You know, we've been going. Let's see, in January, we would have been revamped. Well, no, I'm sorry. Let me think here. I started this show in May of 2011. It didn't really start taking off until January 2013, and here we are now.
That's good though, Felix. I mean, you know, you've basically, I mean, you've done what a lot of podcasts don't even do, which is make it past a year. I was reading an article one time about that, but
no, they don't.
Man, you're right. I mean, because it takes work. I mean, Nate and I were talking about this. Everybody thinks it's easy. It's not easy. You don't just plug in and I'm gonna talk and go. It's a lot of work, and I mean, you've done good with it and excelled. And like I said, great guests. Keep it up. Always a pleasure. You know,
I might have to dip into yours and Nate's guest pool and be like, so what's going on, man? Hook me up with some guests, man. I need some guests for 2016. You know, like a one-man gang or a Michael Tarver or even Brian Mann or let's see, who else have you guys had? You got to get some. We might just have to bring Jimmy Corderas back. Damn it, we've had him on before, but we might have to bring him back. And
I'm gonna tell you the funniest.
I would love to get him back.
The funniest guy we had on the Kings of Sport, Felix, and it was just like you could tell he just didn't give a damn about what heat he got was JTG.
I believe
that would be a fun one to have too.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun. But
Nate, I still got to go download that one because I've been wanting to tune into that one since you told me about it.
Yeah, it's what. Let's just say that the WWE locker room and high school have a lot in common.
Yes, they do.
Well,
yes, they do.
I've talked to one or two guys. I don't want to say any names because they did not want this recorded, but
sure.
Let's just say there's some interesting things that go on back there. And the political arena is one of there's nothing that you would be completely like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Some of the stuff I've heard that takes place.
I've heard rumors that Vince McMahon is a big fan of farting. He's passing some gas and just getting a kick out of it. Or I think he pooped his pants one time and was chasing people down the aisleways with it because he thought it was the funniest thing because people were so nauseous. I think it was Gerald Briscoe that was getting like to the point where he was going to throw up just from the smell. And Vinnie Mac was just laughing his ass off chasing him.
Yeah, I would have lost my job. I would have lost my job that day, Felix. I would have been like, "Look here, old man."
Get those Depends back on. I don't want to see that shit. But yeah, there is a lot of politics, more so than people think. It's more corporate backstage now than it used to be. Because ultimately, when I think about the backstage, I think about the Wrestling with Shadows DVD. Bret Hart took us into the back like we had never seen before, and this is not WWE cameras. This is out of, this is a Canadian documentary done for Bret, and so we got to see a lot of things that WWE probably didn't want us to see. And it is what it is. And I think now more so than ever, they're more careful with what they say and how they act. But I can imagine how pissed Vince was when he found out he was recorded in that documentary. I still watch it. It's still one of my favorite documentaries to watch because it was just so real. That emotion, and that's why when we had Julie on a couple of years ago, and I told her, I said, people really think that this was all planned. And she just laughed her ass off. She says, that's really funny. That's funny they would say that. Like they planned that Bret was going to come back in 2010 and be like, ha, we're over it. We're going to be getting back together and be friends. We're going to have this horrible match at WrestleMania, and I'm going to have a stroke and blah, blah, blah. It was not. Trust me, the feelings are very real. Yeah.
Hey, that's what you call long-term booking, Felix.
Right. But that's just an example of some things that, stories that you can't write these things. They have to be it's just there. You feel it. You feel raw emotion, and that's something I feel is lacking these days. Everything is written for the people to say, to memorize. Vicky Guerrero, on the other hand, got away with it because she didn't remember her lines and started with the "excuse me" thing that got over so well, so well. Excuse me, I can't speak it as shriekingly as horrible as she did, but it works. Anywho, we're babbling, so I'm going to go ahead and start to bring this to a close. And as far as what next week brings, I'm not sure what we're going to do just yet. I know, as I was mentioning in the start of the show, we're going to get together, brainstorm a little bit, and choose the top 15 of 2015. Figure it has a nice ring to it. So we have quite a few to choose from. Who will be the number one spot? That might surprise you. But we've still got this next week, the 15th and the 22nd, our Christmas special. I'm really going to try to see who I can get to come on and read the story towards the night before Christmas. I've been wanting to do that for a couple of years now, and I haven't been able to find anybody. So I'm going to try it again this year, and hopefully I'll get somebody that will be available to do it and do it a lot better than I could. Because I don't like to read, and I don't want to read online.
You know who you need to get, Felix. You know who you need to get.
Who's that?
Who is the greatest poet to ever come on Pipebomb Radio?
Yep.
I actually thought about that. I actually had thought about approaching him about that, and I'm hoping you're talking about Lanny Poffo.
Yes, the genius.
I actually had thought about doing that. I have one other person I'm trying to work on to get. So maybe I can get one of them or both of them. And if I do get both of them, I'll probably put one on the 15th and one on the 22nd. But that's not a bad idea. That's actually because I've considered going with him more so because I think my chances of getting him will be a lot more better than the other person I've been trying to get, only because of the schedule. But we'll see what happens. We've got a couple more weeks left in 2015. Going to go big, and finish the year strong. Those guys on my
hey, Felix, is the other guy you're trying to get Hulk Hogan? Yeah. I don't know if you want the Hulks to read the stories.
No, I don't want no F-bombs or no N-bombs or this bomb or that bomb. It's supposed to be about the holiday season. I don't care if they're. I don't want him singing. I don't care if you're black or white, kind of thing. And we don't need no Michael Jackson. Anyways, that's the plan. It'd be nice to get the Hulkster, but I think I'm not in his price range.
No,
he's not, and he's not in mine. So
he's making that Mike Mills money.
Right.
Why does everybody think I got money, man?
You never know. You might know something we don't, so maybe we got to start investing in doing what you're doing.
No. Hey, I'm just a little fish in a big old pond.
Right. All right, guys. I'm trying to follow in your footsteps, Felix. You've been doing this for 4 years, man. I've been at it for 7, going on 8 months. It takes a special kind of person to do it, man. Like you said, some don't make it a year. If I can make it this long, I know you can make it a lot longer. So, and Nate, I mean, he's another one that sets the bar pretty high because he's been doing broadcasting for 12 years.
Yeah,
I ain't got nothing on him.
Yeah, off and off about 15 years. Kings of Sport will be in March. We'll hit 3 years on Kings of Sport. So yeah, it's between broadcasting and podcasting, it's been a crazy ride.
There you go. So with that, I guess we'll go ahead and bring the Tables, Ladders, and Chairs review show to the end. Go ahead and thank Mike from Booking the Territory to join us tonight. We've got a bunch of things on the horizon this month. Make sure you follow us on our social media. Check us out on our website, pipebombradio.net. Gives you guys access to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, our YouTube. We're on Stitcher. We're on iTunes. We're not on Pinterest anymore. I made that clear last week. I know Austin was disappointed, but anyways. That'll do it. On behalf of us all here at Pipe Bomb Radio, we want to thank you again for joining us this week. Until next week, on behalf of Mike and Nate, this is Felix with Pipe Bomb Radio saying keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Good night, everybody. Good night, guys.
All right, brother.
Take it easy, y'all.
All right.